Salam peeps and welcome to this video. I am Dawn and here I will be working on an artwork for Hari Raya Aidilfitri 2023. I haven't done anything for Raya this year, so I decided to do it. I am actually 2 weeks late at the point of recording this artwork because if you don't know how Raya is in Malaysia, Raya is kind of hectic. Not kind of, it can be really hectic depending on what kind of family you have. And man, I tell you, my family is big. Now that I finally have time to sit down and do some art, I have decided to draw my little Hani the bear in a little Raya setup. Over here, you can see based on the sketch on the left side, I have planned to draw Hani sitting on a crescent moon, holding a little bunga api, sparkler I believe in English, and also a plate of Raya snacks. Sketching this was pretty easy. I've got most of Hani's anatomy down in my head because I've drawn her a few times. I do tend to forget though, so in front of me was my laptop and I did have a reference open. Here you can see that I'm starting to color her in this yellow ochre color. I haven't really properly settled on an exact color for Hani, but right now she's sporting generally a yellow ochre color. However, I do feel like the color that I used right now is a little too dark. In fact, by the end of this work, Hani actually looks a lot darker than she does in my watercolor works, which I will put on the screen. And as you can see, there is quite a difference there. But it's okay, I'm not too strict with the colors just yet. You know, this is the first time I've recorded myself doing some traditional artwork. And as I'm watching myself, I'm seeing how my hands and fingers especially, how they flex. And they do a lot of wild shapes. I swear, I have edited out many of the weird ones. So what you're seeing now is the milder of the weirdness. I really like to go all over the place when I paint. It is called procrastinating. I will admit though, being someone who is a little more used to using watercolor, acrylic paint is a lot more forgiving for sure, but I don't know how to use it as well. I'm just applying mostly flat colors. I don't really know how to shade. Over here, I've started with the background. I chose a very purplish blue, and I'm covering each section of the background. So after painting the blue background, I realized that it was a little flat, and so I decided to do a gradient. And at the top there, I'm adding some green. I'm blending it down bit by bit. I actually used some water to blend because I'm more used to watercolor. I think that's kind of weird, isn't it? The gradient's not perfect, but I'll learn to perfect that skill on acrylic paint sooner or later. Over here, I'm just cleaning up the misshapen edges of the moon. The shading was a bit of a funny story. I started shading Hani's base color with the same yellow ochre, and I added just a little bit of brown into the mix to make it darker. I didn't have a proper light source in mind, so I just did it to bring out some detail. However, I didn't realize that I only shaded Hani's base color. In other words, everything else did not get a shading. Besides, towards the end, I did shade the crescent moon. I just found that really funny, and I only noticed it now. Now, about Hani's plate of food. If you're looking at the sketch, you'll see that it shows the food that's on it. However, over here, you'll see me just turning the plate more inwards towards Hani, and so you don't really get to see what food's on there. I kind of chose to do that because I was in a bit of a panic. The brushes that I had were a little too big for the little details that I planned to put there. so I just decided to paint over it instead. It's a little unfortunate though, because food is such a big part of Raya and Malaysian culture, so that's just a loss. Working on the sparkler now, the idea was to make like a bright shining star that stood out from the others in the background. However, I don't think I achieved that effect through what I made. It kind of looks like it's just disappearing into the background anyway. Time for the line art. I used some brown paint and the finest brush that I had to start lining the piece. The lines were a little messy though, but I did try my best to keep my hand steady. I think the line art really pulled the piece together and helped define the details better. After getting the line art done, I went back to clean up certain places where I felt the lines were too thick. I didn't clean up too much though because the wiggly lines were actually kinda cute. Now I am adding stars into the night sky. As you can see, I chose to use a small paintbrush to dot the stars everywhere. It was not the wisest decision considering I could just use a toothbrush, but for some reason I was too lazy to pick up my painting toothbrush. And so my lazy butt chose to dot each individual star instead. It doesn't give me the same randomized look like a toothbrush would though. Note to self, do not be lazy. I felt like the piece did not scream Raya enough to me, so my sister suggested I add some torches, also known as pelita in Malay. I decided to add some into the background and used a solid purple from the gradient. This is a violet straight from the tube. After painting in the torches, I used the same color for the stars to paint the little flames on top of each one. That is all for this piece. If it looks empty to you, then it's because I had a vision of turning this into a Raya card or Sampul Raya, which are money packets. However, I won't be doing that anytime soon. That is all for this video. I hope that those of you who celebrated had a wonderful Hari Raya Aidilfitri, and thank you for stopping by. Salam!